So this is the right side and this is the left hand side. So the left hand side will overlap on the right hand side. So guys, after giving the vent a good press, this is what I have. You can see the wrong side, and this is what I have on the right side. So on the right side I have something like this. So you can see the vent is laying flat properly now. Okay, so the next step is to finish the vent at the upper part. So inside the vent you will have something like this, these edges coming outside. So what I'll be doing is I will just push this inward. That edges, I will push it inward like so. I will push it inward, then I will give it a press. I will press it down. So after pressing it down, then I will open up the lining. I will open up the lining. Then I will grab that edges on the other side. You can see the fold. This is the part I folded inward. Then I will hold the two together like so, lining to lining. Then fabric to fabric. So this is the lining, this is the lining, lining to lining. Can you see what I'm having? So this part I'll place a notch a little. I will notch this part a little. So this is just to finish the upper part of the vent. I will notch it. Then I will hold the two together like so, lining to lining. Then I will hold the fabric as well, fabrics to fabrics. So after holding the two like so, two pieces for the lining, then the fabric also two pieces. So I will hold it like so. You can see what I'm having. Then I will secure them together with my sewing pin. Okay, so the next step is to close this side. So the four pieces I hold together, I will run a stitch on that side. So I'll pick it from here, then I'll go towards this side and I'll go inward as much as I can. So I will stop somewhere around here. So I'll be doing this and I'll be back to show you the next step. So guys, still on the vent area of the safari suit. So now I've closed the upper part of the vent area, as you can see. So this is what I have on the wrong side. Okay, then on the right side I have something like this. So you can see what I have. So the next step is to close the lower part of the vent area. So in closing the lower part of the vent area, I will be holding this like so. You can see here is the lining and this is the fabric. So this is the part that is underneath. So this is the side that overlap. So the underneath side, I will hold it like so. Turn it right side facing the right side. Then edges to edges. Okay, so don't forget that the lining is shorter than the fabric. So I will just bring the two together properly. Then I will stitch with 1/2 inch seam allowance. So I will stitch here, then I will stop at the dart point, which is here. I will stop here because I will still be finishing the remaining part of the safari suit. So when I'm finishing the remaining part of the safari suit, I'll be closing the other part of the lower part. So I will just stop around here. So you can see what I have. Okay, so I'll be doing this now, and I'll be back to show you the next step. So guys, I've stitched the edges together, and this is what I have. So after stitching, I have an opening here. You can see the space I have there. That is the distance between the length of the fabric and the length of the lining. So what I'll be doing in closing that opening is to open this side up, you can see what I have by the side. So I will open it up like so. Then I will make my seam allowance to face up, so it will lay on the lining and not on the fabric. So I'll make sure I smoothen this side up. Then I will stitch from the seam I have here. Look at the other side, you can see the seam on the white interfacing. So on the other side I have a seam here as well. So I will just match this seam up and stitch downward like so. So I'll confirm the measurement I have for the seam allowance here. Okay, that's half of an inch. So I will stitch with half of an inch all the way, pick it from here, and I will take it down. So with this I'll be able to turn it inside. So this is what I have after stitching. Then I will trim off the seam allowance I have at this point. So I'll trim it off so that the inside of the vent will not look bulky. Okay, so with this I can turn this inside out. You can see what I'm having after closing this side. You can see what I'm having here. So I will just push it out like so. So with this I will be having the lower parts of my safari suit like this. So you can see the distance I have here. So the effect of this is the seam allowance I added. So if you want this wider, so which means you will add up to 2.5 inches or 3 inches as your hem allowance. Okay, so what I have here will be half of what I added as my seam allowance. So you can see what I have. Okay, so one side of the vent is settled, then we will move to the other side. So guys, after finishing one side of the vent, then I will finish the other side of the vent as well. Okay, so I folded this in a triangular form, then I trim off the excess I have around there. I notch the center, then I will fold it right side facing the right side. So you can see the notched part. With the help of the notch I have, I'll be able to get the center. So then I will stitch like so from this edge to this edge with 1/4 of an inch. So this is where I will be stopping on this side. So after stitching, this is what I have. Then I will trim this down a little. I'll trim it off, then turn this inside out. So you can see what I'm having for the edge. So can you see what I have here? Okay, so now I'll be bringing this outward again in order to finish the remaining parts. So I'll be holding the lining and the fabric together, right side facing the right side. So then I will stitch and stop on the dart point. So this is the dart point. So I'll be stitching with 1/2 of an inch seam allowance, which I have here. So you can see it here. So I'll be stitching from here downward like so. So guys, now the vent area is ready. As you can see, I'm done with the finishing of both sides. So this is the under vent and this is the overlap. So this is what I have on the outside. Then on the inside, this is what I have for the vent. You can see what I'm having. So the next step is to join the remaining parts of the safari suit together. So in doing this, I will be separating my fabric like so. So because it's going to be right side facing the right side, I will separate the main fabric from the lining like so. You can see what I'm having. Then I will turn it. So I will make it right side facing the right side. So guys, I've turned this to the wrong side. As you can see, I've made this right side facing the right side. The right side of the lining facing the right side of the fabric. So now I'll be closing the center front of the safari suit. So which I've pinned together. So here is the center front. This is one side for the center front. So this is the other side of the center front. And what I have all around here is the collar. So I will not be tampering with the collar area, that is the neckline area. So I'll be stitching with 1/2 of an inch downward. Then when I get to the hemline, as you can see, the main fabric is longer than the lining. The lining is 1 inch shorter than the fabric. So what I'll be doing is I'll just align it like so. So when I get to about 1/2 of an inch to the hemline of the lining, I will stop. So this is what I mean. This is the edge of the lining. So from here I will come up by 1/2 of an inch like so, which I've marked here. So I will be stitching from the neckline with 1/2 of an inch downward, and I will stop on the 1/2 of an inch point which I have at the lower part. So on the other side as well, I will be repeating the same process. So I'll be doing this and I'll be back to show you the next step. So guys, I'm done joining the lining and the fabric together at the center front. So after joining, this is what I have. You can see I stopped at the 1/2 of an inch point before the hemline of the lining. So this is what I have. So after joining, then I will top stitch. I will flip the seam allowance to lay on the lining side. You can see this is the lining side, this is the main fabric. So this will be laid on this like so. Okay, so I will top stitch all the way down. So guys, I'm done applying my top stitching. So this is what I have. You can see the seam is on the lining side. Okay, so this is the right side and this is the lining side. So the next step is to work on the button allowance area. So we'll be working on the button allowance area because when we are ready to attach the collar will not start from the button allowance point. The collar will start from the center front, which is here. So this is the center front. So this is where the collar will start all the way around to the other side of the center front. And because of that, we have to finish the upper part of the button allowance. So that is why I will be turning this to the wrong side. I will turn it to the wrong side like so. So you can see what I have. So this is the seam allowance. So I will hold the two necklines together, the main fabric neckline, then the lining neckline. I will hold the two together. I will make sure the notches align. I have the notches on the two necklines already. Then I will secure it together with my sewing pins. Okay, then I will make sure my seam allowance, this is my seam allowance, you can see what I have, is laying on the lining. This is the lining. So the seam allowance must not be like this. It has to lay flat on the lining side. So after laying it flat on the lining, then I will hold the two together, then secure it with pin. Okay, the seam allowance I have on the neckline is about 1/2 of an inch. So I will be marking 1/2 of an inch from the top downward. Okay, so I will stitch on that 1/2 of an inch point and stop at the center front, which is here. So this is the center front line. So which means from here to here, if you don't have the marked points, you can just take the measurement. Don't forget our button allowance is 1.5 inches plus the seam allowance. after closing the center front, I'm left with 1 inch. So which means from this point to this point, I will have 1 inch. So you can just take the measurement all over, take your 1 inch, then you stop at the point from here to here. So that is what I'll be doing right now. So guys, I've closed the upper part of the button allowance. Then this is what I have. Okay, then I'll trim this off. I'll trim it off as much as I can. Okay, then at the center front, I will place a notch. So here I have my center front line. So I will place a notch, which is here. Then I will turn this inside out. So I have the inside bulky. I will make sure I trim this down more. I will trim it off. So here, this is what I have. After trimming it off, I've turned it inside out. So I will turn the safari suit to the right side for you guys to see. So I've repeated the same process. So this is what I have after turning. So can you see what I have here? So this is what the notch will do. So you can see the notch I have here. So this is what I will be using in attaching the collar. Okay, so now this is settled. For the other side, you can see what I have. I've pinned this down. So I will pin this down as well, and I will give it a very good press. So this is very important, a very good press before I top stitch here. So I'll be top stitching here, but that will be after attaching the collar. Okay, so I will give it a press. After giving it a press, the next step is to attach the collar. So now I'll be showing you how to draft the collar. So guys, now that I'm done finishing the button allowance area, so this is what I have. So the next step is to attach the collar. So in attaching the collar, I'll be showing you how to draft a 1-piece shirt collar. We have 2-piece shirt collar and we have 1 piece. But for the design of this safari suit, we'll be attaching a 1-piece shirt collar. So in drafting the collar pattern, you need the neck circumference measurements of your safari suit. So make sure you take this measurement properly on your suit. So for the sake of accuracy, please take this measurements on the safari suit itself. So you can see what I'm doing right now. I'm pinning all around and I will take the measurement. So I will take the measurement. So don't forget, the collar is not starting from the button allowance point. So it will start from the center front. So I'll be taking the measurement from the center front to the other side of the center front. Okay, so which I have 16 inches. Then I will divide that 16 by 2. Then I have 16 divided by 2, I have 8. So here is my pattern. So this line is a neckline area.